Russian military was forced to retreat from the western Kherson region after suffering a significant loss in the southern part of Ukraine. Right this way are the most recent additions. The city of Kherson has been liberated by the Ukrainian army. The country would suffer a major blow as a result of the loss of the city. Ukraine's new step comes after weeks of airstrikes on Russian-controlled bridges and other points surrounding Kherson. In other parts of Ukraine, fighting is still going on in Donetsk, where Russian forces are attempting to make further progress toward the Bakhmut line. The accomplishments of Ukraine in Kherson. In spite of Russia's best efforts, Ukrainian forces have been victorious and have taken control of the western portion of the Kherson region, which includes the city of Kherson. The most recent Ukrainian development came after months of successful strikes on Russian forces on the west bank of the Dnipro River. These operations had the goal of disrupting Russian supply lines, and they were a response to previous developments in Ukraine. The bridges that crossed the river were one of the primary targets for the Ukrainian military, along with the roads, pontoons, barges, and landing zones. A map depicting how Kherson's ownership has changed. Last updated on November 13, according to the Institute for the Study of War, the success of the Ukrainian military in the Battle of Kherson was, in significant part due to the Ukrainian Armed Forces, UAF's, cutting-edge usage of the US provided him as Precision Rocket System, ISW. The Soviet fortifications on the west bank of the river were rendered incapable of receiving resupply as a result of many precise strikes that were carried out by HIMARS. In recent days, Russia has maintained rocket, artillery, and even air assaults on the southern region, with Zaporizhzhia city being one of the targets of these attacks. According to the Ukrainian government, its forces have also attacked Russian strongholds in the Zaporizhzhia area. According to the ISW, Russian troops are forcibly mobilizing men in Melitopol and Zaporizhzhia and compelling them to dig trenches and other supports. Also, the Russian forces are forcing them to take up arms. An updated map of the zones of control in southern Ukraine is available on November 13. In the east, there was a great deal of fighting. Russian soldiers are continuing to carry out ground attacks around Bakhmut and Siversk. According to the Ukrainian government, they have successfully repelled the most recent attacks, with the majority of the hard fighting taking place on the road network. A map that shows the places in and around Siversk, most recently updated on November 13, Ukrainian soldiers gained control of the vital logistics center of Lyman in Donetsk at the beginning of October. Regular Russian forces, mobilized S-servicemen, Wagner exclusive specialists, Chechen systems, and employees from the so-called Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics are said to be part of the Russian pressures running east. Map of eastern Ukraine with control zones, updated the 13th of November. The current Russian drive in the direction of Bakhmut followed a significant loss in the east in September, when Russian systems were forced back in the vicinity of Kharkiv. This loss was followed by the current Russian advance. Soviet forces retreated from the strategically important cities of Izium and Kupiansk, citing the need to regroup as their official justification for the withdrawal. Both of these towns served as important supply depots for the Russian forces operating in the Donbas. Ukraine's power grid is currently under attack. Before October, Russia appeared to modify strategies, targeting Ukrainian cities better from the front line with projectile attacks for the first time in months. In addition to ballistic and cruise ship missiles, the Russian forces that were involved in the attacks made use of Shahed-136 drones, which they had only just purchased from Iran. Attacks on Ukraine's energy facilities by Russian forces have caused blackouts in key cities, consisting of Kyiv, Lviv, Zaporizhzhia, and Kharkiv. In September, the Russian Federation established connections with 4 different regions of Ukraine: Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia. Russia does not entirely manage any one of the 4 regions. This map, which was last updated on November 13, shows the regions of Ukraine that are under Russian control. Vladimir Putin, the leader of Russia, has said that his country will liberate the 4 areas by employing all the resources and forces at its disposal. In a speech that he gave to the people of Russia, Vladimir Putin boasted that his country possessed various tools of destruction, including the phrase, "I'm not bluffing." Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24, but Ukrainian forces retook large portions of territory around Kyiv at the beginning of April as Moscow pulled back from its advance into the city. There have been projectile attacks in western regions of the nation, including the city of Lviv, but there has been no attempt by Russian forces to occupy and hold terrain in those regions. Since the beginning of the invasion, the Russian military has suffered significant casualties, and significant quantities of Soviet weapons have either been destroyed or documented as missing.